It only takes a moment to change your life, and perhaps that moment is today, when a person finally understands that discipline is not a cage but a key. Everything begins to shift. Most people think freedom comes from doing whatever you want, whenever you want, but that is the biggest illusion of modern life. Freedom is born from the systems you build, the routines you commit to, and the structure you choose long before the world demands something from you. If you set a system for your health, you don't wake up fighting your body every day. If you build a system for your finances, you don't panic when the month ends. If you create a system for learning, growth becomes automatic. The truth is simple. Without systems, you become a slave to pressure, to randomness, to mood. With systems, you become the master of your time, your energy, your future. Success is not about heroic moments of motivation. It's about consistent steps designed and repeated so well that excellence becomes your habit, not your struggle. Most people wait for motivation, but people with systems don't. They know that motivation is a spark, and sparks die unless they fall on something built to catch fire. Systems are that fuel. They turn irregular effort into unstoppable momentum. They turn scattered dreams into measurable progress. Imagine waking up every day knowing exactly what you need to do, without stress, without noise, without confusion. Imagine having a roadmap so clear that even on your weakest days, you still move forward because the system carries you. That is the power of preparation. When you automate good choices, you protect your future from your weaker self. Discipline becomes easier, not harder, when the path is already built. And the people who rise to the top are not the ones who work the hardest on a single day. They are the ones who design systems that carry them every day. A powerful system transforms your life not by forcing you to work more, but by helping you work smarter. Chaos exhausts the mind, but clarity energizes it. When you know your priorities, when your time has structure, when your goals have steps, you move with confidence instead of fear. You make decisions faster. You waste less. You win more. Every system you create is a contract with your future self. A promise that you will show up, that you will grow, that you will not fall back into old patterns. And the best part, systems compound. A small routine today becomes a powerful force tomorrow. A tiny habit becomes a life-changing skill. A simple plan becomes a legacy. This is why every great achiever, from entrepreneurs to athletes, builds systems. They refuse to leave their destiny to chance. They design it, they engineer it. And then they let the system work even when they're tired, discouraged, or distracted. When a person finally understands that discipline is not a cage but a key, a shift happens so deep inside that their entire world begins to reorganize itself. Most people spend their whole lives avoiding structure because they think structure limits them. They think routine is boring, discipline is punishment, and systems are only for people who want a predictable, rigid kind of life. But the truth is the opposite. The greatest freedom you will ever experience comes from the systems you design with intention. Freedom is not waking up late and deciding your life moment to moment based on how you feel. Freedom is waking up with clarity, direction, purpose, and confidence because you don't need to waste energy figuring out what to do. You already built the system. You already laid the track. Now all you need to do is walk it. When you don't have systems, life becomes a daily wrestling match with chaos. You jump from task to task, trying to put out fires that never stop burning. You lose time, you lose energy, and you lose opportunities simply because nothing is organized. You become a slave to mood, to distraction, to pressure, and the worst part is, you start believing that stress is just a normal part of life, but the moment you create systems, you begin to breathe again. You begin to take control again. You start saving the time you used to waste. You start protecting the energy you used to drain. A system for your health means you don't argue with yourself every morning about whether to exercise. A system for your finances means you don't panic every time an unexpected bill arrives. A system for your learning means you grow automatically because you no longer depend on sporadic motivation. Everything becomes smoother, clearer, lighter. People think success requires extreme effort every single day, but the truth is success requires extreme clarity, not extreme effort. A well-designed system removes the need for willpower. It removes the need for constant decision making. Think about how much mental energy people waste deciding small things. What to do first, when to do it, how to do it, why to do it, whether they feel like doing it. A system eliminates the entire debate. You don't think, you don't negotiate. You simply follow the path you created when you were thinking clearly, when you were connected to your goals, when you were committed to your future. That is the real magic. Systems protect you from the version of yourself that gets tired, emotional, distracted, or overwhelmed. And here is the beautiful irony. People who resist discipline the most are the same people who end up feeling the most trapped. They are trapped by inconsistency, trapped by wasted time, trapped by unfinished work, trapped by regret. They run from structure but run straight into stress. Meanwhile, the people who embrace systems discover a different kind of life. They move with a calm confidence because they know what comes next. They don't live by chance. They live by design. They don't hope to grow. They engineer growth. They don't look for freedom in escape. They find freedom in mastery. Think about someone who has a clear system for their mornings. They wake up, hydrate, stretch, read, plan, train, and nourish their mind before the world even wakes up. Compare them to someone who rolls out of bed at random times, scrolling through their phone, reacting to the world instead of preparing for it. One starts the day with intention, the other starts the day with noise. One builds momentum, the other tries to recover from chaos. The difference in the quality of their life doesn't come from talent, luck, or intelligence. It comes from a simple decision to live with systems instead of guesses. Every successful person eventually realizes that greatness is not created in big, dramatic moments. Greatness is created quietly, invisibly, inside routines that seem small but accumulate power over time. A system is not glamorous, it's not exciting, but it is transformative. It's the backbone of every achievement. It's the invisible engine behind success. It's the silent teacher that trains you even when you're not aware of it. When you have a system, you don't need to be perfect. You just need to show up, and showing up becomes easier because you already know what to do. And this is what Jim Rohn meant when he said discipline is the bridge between goals and accomplishment. Systems are simply discipline made visible, made practical, made repeatable. Anyone can be motivated for a day. Anyone can feel inspired after a great speech or a powerful book. But systems turn that inspiration into a lifestyle. Systems convert excitement into execution. Systems take dreams and break them into steps, then into habits, then into identity. When you build systems, your life stops depending on who you are in the moment and starts depending on who you decided to become. That is real freedom. Not the freedom to do whatever you want whenever you want, but the freedom to live a life where progress is inevitable, where growth is automatic, where success becomes the natural result of the systems you have built. Most people wait for motivation like it's some kind of magical weather pattern that needs to show up at the perfect moment. They wake up hoping for inspiration to strike, hoping for energy to appear, hoping for clarity to fall out of the sky. But people who build systems don't depend on hope. They don't rely on motivation because they understand a powerful truth. Motivation is a spark, and sparks die unless they fall on something prepared to burn. A spark on wet wood disappears. A spark on dry wood ignites. That dry wood is your system. It's the structure you create long before you need it. It's the routine that keeps you moving even when your motivation drops to zero. And make no mistake, motivation will drop. It always does. But a person with a system keeps going, not because they feel like it, but because their path is already built. There is something incredibly liberating about waking up each day with certainty. To know exactly what needs to be done, to know what comes first, what comes next, and why it matters. Most people wake up stepping into confusion. They don't know their priorities, so everything feels urgent. They don't have a plan, so everything feels stressful. They don't have a system, so everything feels heavy. But a well-crafted system lightens the load. It simplifies decisions. It eliminates doubt. It protects your mind from chaos. Instead of drowning in possibilities, you move with direction. Instead of reacting to the world, you create your world. Systems do something even more powerful. They transform irregular effort into unstoppable momentum. A person without a system works randomly. One day they go all in. The next day they do nothing. One week they're inspired. The next week they're lost. The pattern is inconsistent, and inconsistent effort creates inconsistent results. But when you build a system, you create rhythm, you create pace, you create flow. It's like gears locking into place. Once the machine starts moving, it moves with its own force. Even when you're tired, even when you're distracted, even when life throws challenges at you, the system keeps pulling you forward. Momentum becomes your ally. Imagine a system for learning: 30 minutes of reading every morning, 15 minutes of notes, 10 minutes of reflection. It doesn't sound dramatic, but over a year it becomes hundreds of hours of new knowledge. Imagine a system for fitness, a simple routine repeated consistently, not extreme workouts, not unpredictable attempts. Just steady, structured action. Over time, your body changes, your energy changes, your confidence changes. Imagine a system for your goals: daily progress tracking, weekly planning, monthly reviews. Suddenly you see your patterns. You correct your mistakes, you improve faster. None of this requires bursts of motivation. It requires a system that works even when you're not in the mood. And that is the greatest secret of high achievers. They design their lives so that success becomes easier. They remove friction. They set up environments that support their goals. They eliminate distractions before they appear. They automate decisions so their minds stay fresh for bigger challenges. They don't rely on willpower because they know willpower fades. Instead, They rely on structure because structure stays. They turn good intentions into predictable actions through systems. Most people don't fail because they're weak. They fail because their environment has no structure. They rely on emotional energy that fluctuates. They rely on willpower that wears out. They rely on inspiration that comes and goes. But when you build a system, you no longer fight yourself. You no longer question yourself. You no longer hesitate. The system becomes the boss. The system becomes the coach. The system becomes the guide. It tells you when to start, how long to work, when to rest, what to track, what to adjust. It creates clarity, and clarity creates confidence. Think about how many dreams disappear not because people lacked talent, but because they lacked organization. Think of how many opportunities slipped away not because people weren't capable, but because they didn't have a routine that kept them moving. Think of how many goals faded not because they were impossible, but because they were chased with bursts of intensity instead of sustainable system. The truth is, anyone can run hard for a day. Anyone can feel motivated for a moment. But the ones who rise above the rest are the ones who do the work even on the days they're uninspired. Not because they're superhuman, but because they built systems that make showing up natural. A powerful system also protects you from your weaker days. Everyone has days when they feel tired, discouraged, overwhelmed, or doubtful. On those days, motivation won't save you, but a system will. A system reduces the emotional weight of progress. It says, just do the next step, not the whole mountain, not the whole journey, just the next step. And that is how mountains are climbed, one clear, simple, repeatable step at a time. Systems also create identity. When you follow a routine long enough, it stops being something you do and becomes who you are. You are no longer someone who tries. You become someone who trains. You become someone who studies. You become someone who builds. You become someone who grows consistently. Your identity strengthens because your actions are aligned, predictable, and repeated with purpose. This is why systems matter more than motivation. Motivation pushes you from behind, but systems pull you forward. Motivation comes in waves, but systems create momentum. Motivation is emotional, but systems are structural. And when your life is built on structure, you no longer need to wait for the perfect mood or the perfect day. You simply move. A powerful system doesn't just change what you do. It changes how you live, how you think, and how you show up in the world. People often believe that more success comes from working harder, piling on more tasks, adding more pressure, or filling every hour with some kind of frantic activity. But true transformation rarely comes from doing more. It comes from doing the right things in the right order with the right consistency. A system is the quiet architect behind a successful life. It isn't loud, it isn't flashy, but it turns ordinary effort into extraordinary results by guiding your time, your decisions, and your energy with intention instead of impulse. Chaos drains you in ways you don't even notice. When your day has no structure, your mind becomes overwhelmed with 100 tiny decisions. What to start first, what to postpone, what to prioritize, what to ignore. That constant guessing exhausts the brain long before real work even begins. But when you operate inside a system, clarity becomes your natural state. You don't waste energy deciding where to begin. You don't drown in uncertainty. You don't fight with your own mind. You simply follow the structure you created during your higher moments of clarity and purpose. That clarity becomes a gift you give yourself every day. When you know your priorities, Your actions stop scattering in every direction. You move with purpose instead of panic. You stop reacting to everything around you and start creating the direction you want to follow. This is the magic of a system. It organizes both your outer world and your inner world. It makes decision-making faster. It makes focus easier. It makes progress constant. Instead of juggling tasks, you flow through them. Instead of guessing, you execute. Instead of feeling overwhelmed, you feel equipped. A system also gives you something priceless, confidence. Not the kind of confidence that comes from hype or temporary excitement, but the deep-rooted confidence that comes from knowing you are prepared. When you have a plan for your goals, you don't shrink back from challenges. When you have a routine for improvement, you don't fear falling behind. When you have a structure for your growth, you stop depending on luck and start relying on consistency. Confidence isn't born in moments of brilliance. It's born in systems that guarantee progress even when you're not at your best. Every system you create becomes a contract with your future self. It becomes a promise that you won't abandon your goals, that you won't return to your old patterns, that you will keep moving in the direction of your dreams even when life tests you. It's not just a schedule. It's a safeguard against stagnation. It's a shield against procrastination. It's a strategy against the chaos that tries to pull you away from your purpose. When you build a system, you are building discipline into your days without needing to force it. You're building progress into your habits without needing motivation to fuel it. And the beautiful truth is that systems compound. Just like money grows with interest, your habits grow with repetition. A small routine repeated daily becomes a powerful lifestyle. A simple discipline becomes a new identity. What starts as a few minutes of practice becomes mastery over time. You may not notice the change on day 1 or day 10, but on day 100, the difference will be undeniable. This is why systems are more important than intensity. Anyone can give everything for a day. Only systems allow you to grow every day. Think about athletes who train consistently even when no one is watching. Their routines are systems. Think about entrepreneurs who plan, track, and adjust their goals with precision. Their methods are systems. Think about artists who practice their craft every morning, regardless of mood. Their discipline is a system. The world sees the results, but never sees the structure behind the results. Success looks magical from the outside, but inside it is built on systems that operate quietly and relentlessly. A system also frees you from the trap of perfectionism. When you rely on perfection, you wait for the perfect day, the perfect mood, the perfect environment, the perfect opportunity. But when you rely on a system, you rely on repetition. You rely on showing up. You rely on forward motion, not flawless motion. You stop waiting for ideal conditions and start creating consistent conditions. That consistency becomes stronger than any obstacle. It pushes you forward when you are tired. It keeps you moving when you feel unsure. It builds resilience, discipline, and belief. The truth is, a system is not there to control you. It's there to liberate you. It frees your mind from decision fatigue. It frees your time from being wasted. It frees your emotions from unnecessary stress. It frees your future from uncertainty. People who resist structure think it limits them, but they don't see how much they're already limited by disorganization. Systems don't take freedom away. They create it. They give you space to grow, space to think, space to succeed, and space to live life with purpose instead of pressure. And the most empowering part is this. You don't need a perfect system to transform your life. You just need a working one. You just need something you can repeat, something you can trust, something you can refine as you grow. Even a small system will beat a big intention. Even a simple routine will beat a complicated dream with no structure. Systems are the great equalizer. You don't need special talent. You don't need ideal conditions. You just need a pattern you can commit to. When you finally choose to build systems for your life, you stop living by chance and start living by design. You stop being pushed by circumstances and start being pulled by purpose. You stop hoping for progress and start engineering it. You unlock a freedom that people without systems will never understand. And that freedom is the foundation on which all achievement, all growth, and all success. And now, as we stand at the end of this journey, let me leave you with a moment of truth, one that is meant not just to inspire you, but to activate you. Because nothing changes until you decide that today is the day your life begins to rise, not next week, not next year, not when you feel ready. Today, right now, this moment, because your future self is watching you, waiting for you, depending on you to take that next step. Imagine for a moment that the future version of you, the stronger you, the wiser you, the wealthier you, the healthier you, could walk into the room right now. What would they say? They would look you in the eyes and say, build the system, don't wait, don't delay, don't depend on excuses, structure your life so success becomes inevitable. They would tell you, do not trust your mood, trust your routine, do not trust your motivation, trust your structure, do not trust chance, trust your design. Because systems don't just create results. They create character. They turn you into someone who doesn't break under pressure, someone who doesn't quit when things get tough, someone who doesn't depend on inspiration to move forward. They turn you into someone reliable, consistent, powerful, someone whose success is not an accident but a pattern. And if you listen closely, your future self would also say something else. Make your life easier, make your progress simpler, make your journey smoother. Success is not supposed to feel chaotic. It is supposed to feel intentional. It is supposed to feel organized. It is supposed to feel guided. A system is not a prison. It is the path that leads you out of the prison you built with your own habits, fears, and lack of discipline. So let me talk directly to you, the person reading these words. If you want growth, you need a system. If you want strength, you need a system. If you want progress that doesn't disappear after a week, you need a system. If you want to stop restarting, stop doubting, stop delaying, you need a system. And you may say, but what if I fail? Then the system will pick you back up. You may say, what if I get tired? Then the system will carry you until you recover. You may say, what if I lose motivation? Then the system will keep you moving forward. Motivation is a visitor. Systems are permanent residents. You might be thinking, how do I begin? Begin small. Begin simple. Begin with what you can repeat. Set a morning routine. Set a learning routine. Set a saving routine. Give your life the structure it deserves, because structure is the language of success. Picture this scene. A mentor sits across from a discouraged young man. The young man says, I try so hard, but I don't stay consistent. The mentor smiles gently and replies, trying harder is not your problem. Trying smarter is. Build a system so simple that even on your worst days, you can follow it. The young man whispers, but what if I don't feel like it? The mentor laughs softly and says, of course you won't feel like it, That's why we build systems, so you don't have to feel like it. The system does the pulling, and that is the truth I want you to hear today. Systems pull you when motivation cannot. Systems guide you when emotions confuse you. Systems steady you when life shakes you. Remember this line: your life is not built by the days you feel great. Your life is built by the systems you follow on the days you don't. Let me offer you another dialogue, this time between you and your excuses. Your excuses say, "Start tomorrow." You respond, "No, I start today." Your excuses whisper, "It's too hard." You reply, "It's too important." Your excuses complain, "This will take too long." You answer, "The time will pass anyway. I might as well build something with it." Excuses will always speak, but systems silence them, and somewhere in your heart, you know this is the truth. You've felt the difference before. You know how powerful you become when you follow a routine. You know how unstoppable you feel when you follow a plan. You know how much clearer life becomes when you remove randomness and replace it with structure. You know it, now it is time to commit to it. So let me ask you directly, are you ready to stop living on hope and start living on intention? Are you ready to stop starting over and start compounding? Are you ready to stop depending on motivation and start depending on systems? If the answer is yes, even a small yes, then today marks the beginning of a new chapter, not a dramatic chapter, not a flashy chapter, but a powerful one, the chapter where you become the kind of person who grows every day, not because you feel like it, but because your life is designed for growth. The chapter where freedom doesn't come from doing whatever you want, but from doing whatever your system requires. The chapter where success becomes predictable, so step forward, build your system, trust your structure, honor your routine, because at the end of the day, systems don't just create freedom. They create the version of you that deserves that freedom.